Doing more community outreach and engagement of the community. Financial education for City of Wilmington residents and organization is going to be a very strong focus of mine. Just all sorts of opportunities that we're seeing that out of this office we can be a source of information, education, and advocacy for people on financial, economic, and consumer matters. Doing more community outreach and engagement of the community. Financial education for City of Wilmington residents and organization is going to be a very strong focus of mine. Just all sorts of opportunities that we're seeing that out of this office we can be a source of information, education, and advocacy for people on financial, economic, and consumer matters. Hello, and welcome to On the Money with Velda. I am Velda Jones-Potter, your city treasurer. And today I wanted to talk with you a little bit about this major crisis that we are all living through today. Coronavirus 19. You no doubt have heard all of the reports on the virus. Hopefully you are adhering to all of the great advice for health and safety reasons, and doing everything that you can to protect your family and yourselves, your neighbors, and those that you care about. I encourage you to do all of that. I wanted to talk with you a little bit about the economic impact of a crisis such as this. So many ways it affects us. We are certainly following the advice of what's called social distancing, which means just simply trying to not convene into very, very large crowds. It's causing some of us to have to be home with our children, to have our offices closed, and in some cases work from home. And so these activities are not without a financial consequence. I was amazed to hear that the sports events across the country, the National Hockey League, the National Baseball League, the NBA, have suspended all of their, not only their games, but I think in many cases, the entire season. And we have to trust those who are medical experts that is absolutely the best thing to do in the interest of keeping everyone safe and healthy. We have seen the effect of this, however, in the economy that surrounds all of those industries, the sports industry, the entertainment industry. Broadway in New York has closed all of its theaters. And that's about more than just the entertainment that happens there, but so many people are employed in that industry and are now without work. And all of the other restaurants and the hotels and the other parts of the economic engine are also impacted. And so even right here at home, many of our schools have started to close, and so places where we are normally able to have childcare before, after school, even during the school hours for our youngest children, those who have to work are now struggling with how to manage that. And more we are seeing the need to actually have our offices closed so that there's not the increased risk of transmitting this terrible virus. And for those who have the fortune of having some paid leave while they're home, that's a really good thing. But for many people, that's not the case, and that can pose a real economic impact and can be of great concern, understandably so. We have seen the stock market take a major nosedive in the wake of this national epidemic, this international, worldwide epidemic. And so I realized that many people who have 401ks and may be close to or in their retirement years are concerned about the effect that that's having on your 401k retirement account. And so I am not going to give you direct advice on those things. I can't, because each individual situation is so personal and it's so unique and so individual. What I would say is, please consult your accountant. Please consult your banking advisor. Please consult someone who can help you think through what's the best way to manage in this tumultuous time when it comes to your financial matters. What I would advise, though, is that you be very mindful of these times being a period when it is important to try to have a reserve so that in these times of crises, you may have a way to turn to some monies in your reserves if you need to. These may be those times when it's necessary to tap into a savings if you must. When you may need to access credit if it's available, if you must. But I ask you to just be very, very careful and thoughtful and try to get advice as you do that. One of the areas that I especially would like to focus with you today is in the area of financial risk and vulnerability in times like this. And so while you try to manage through your work challenge, through whatever impact that may have on your budget and how you manage your finances, I want to really bring to your attention something that you may not hear as much about, and that is how predators take advantage of these very desperate times to prey upon people. And so I'd like to share with you just a couple of clips that will give you a sense of the way in which, unfortunately, there are those out and among us who would use these very challenging times to prey upon people in general, but particularly our seniors, to attempt to really take advantage of them from a financial standpoint. So let's take a look.
Scammers are using the coronavirus outbreak to prey on their next victim. Chrissy Tamashiro with tips on protecting yourself in tonight's Action Line Consumer Alert.
Fake emails, phone calls, and texts regarding the coronavirus. That's what officials are warning the public about as the concern over the coronavirus grows.
There are people who are trying to take advantage of the situation and either infiltrate your computer, harvest personal information, or ultimately try to steal money from you.
Levin says the CDC and World Health Organization do not send out personal messages. So if you receive a call or link addressed from either of the two organizations, it might be a part of a phishing scam.
Don't click on any links. because it's being widely reported right now that there are bad people who are putting malware, these computer viruses, on these links. You click on the links and instantly your computer is going to be infected.
As the concern over the epidemic continues, Levin says be on the lookout for fake emails regarding vaccines.
Bad people preying on our insecurities and our fears regarding this coronavirus. People shouldn't fall for that. If they get any kind of strange emails or emails out of the blue telling them that there's a vaccine that's going to take care of it, it's going to be a scam.
Welcome back. I hope you were able to see some of the risks that we're confronted with in these very difficult times, particularly as we are now using the internet so much more than ever. Facebook, Instagram, people are working from home. And so we're going to be on our computers more now than ever. And our vulnerability is just heightened. We are all looking for the best information we can get on how to manage through this process, how to protect ourselves. And I realize how much information comes to us through the internet. And I just urge you to be very cautious and very discerning when you receive emails, and just do what you can to really investigate and explore before accepting what you receive at face value. A young man gave me a sample of I think it was a Facebook post that he saw. And it was saying to people that money and the exchange and the handling of money is a primary avenue through which the coronavirus is spread and transmitted. I have not heard that information from any of the medical professionals that I have been listening to on television. But that is what this post on Facebook was proposing. And then it continued and suggested to people to place your money in a plastic film, like a plastic wrap or baggie or something of that nature, and then send it to a certain address. And while that may sound like something that we say, who would ever do that? The reality of it is, when we are in situation of fear and panic and, just really concerned about our life, we tend to be very vulnerable. And someone very well could succumb to that. So I'm here today to just sort of bring your attention to the range and the nature of ways that that people will try to take advantage of us, of the public, in this crisis situation. And so what I urge you to do is to be very vigilant in scrutinizing any approach that someone makes with you about getting money, sending money, contributing. Just be very discerning and pick up the phone. Call someone you trust. Call your daughter. Call your neighbor. Just run it by them before you just follow the advice or the instructions, because it very well just could be a scam. Identity theft and scams are rampant, even under normal, everyday circumstances when we're not dealing with a crisis such as this one. And so when we're dealing with a crisis, the crooks come out in droves. And so many people in our communities feel vulnerable. And then that's when you may find yourself taken advantage. And so what are some of the things that I would propose? So one is with regard to internet scams. So in cybersecurity world, emails will be sent to you with malicious attachments to them that the minute you click on it, it may infect your computer system, and then literally they will hold your computer hostage until you give a credit card or something else. Literally, like a kidnapping of your computer, until you give them a credit card that they are able to take X amount of dollars off, and then they'll release your computer back to you. So if you receive an email that's personally addressed to you, and it says it's from the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, please do not respond to it. The Center for Disease Control will not be addressing us individually on our individual emails. The Center for Disease Control is certainly a central and credible resource for information for us. But we should not expect to receive an individual personalized email from them. Their information will come to us in a much more broad and collective way. So be very careful if you receive a direct email addressed to you specifically from the Center for Disease Control. Also, remember, never give your personal financial information over the email when it's solicited. That's all I can really say to that. If someone asks for you to respond in an email with your routing number, with your bank account number, with even your social security number, beware and immediately leave that site or leave that email. And so the whole issue of internet scams is very rampant, and it is only going to get worse in this environment before it gets better. So be very, very careful when you're on the internet. Those who are going to be working from home and on the internet even more, you are then going to be that much more vulnerable. There's another category of scams that are increasing now, particularly with this crisis that we're experiencing across our country and across our world. And that category is charity scams. With the outbreak of disease, with natural disaster, our natural instinct to want to help others comes out. And that's a good thing. That's the humane side of us that we never want to lose. But I encourage you to be very careful that someone doesn't take advantage of your kindness, your desire to give and help and support. And so just be very thoughtful in how you support, and know as best you can the entity and the agency and the organization through which you are lending that support. There are all sorts of fraudulent fundraising campaigns, some of them under the GoFundMe banner. GoFundMe is a great tool for helping people. And there are lots of initiatives under GoFundMe where great things are happening to support people with real needs. But there are also folks out there who are using that mechanism to take advantage of people who are vulnerable right now, and to scam them for contributions that are never going to make their way to support and assist. So I encourage you to scrutinize very carefully any requests that you see through GoFundMe. If there are websites that are identified in that request for contribution, go to the website, check it out. If there are, if they are proposing that it's supporting a longstanding organization, check out the history of that organization. Make sure that it's one that is credible, that has a degree of longevity, and where there's evidence that they've done the great work that they're proposing to do. One of the more serious scams from a charity standpoint that is underway now is that people are going door to door and identifying themselves in some capacity of assisting with the coronavirus pandemic and asking for contributions. Please be very, very careful about that. I am very doubtful that there are any of the organizations that are looking to support people through this crisis who would be sending anyone door to door. So my suggestion to you with that, do not open your door. Do not even entertain that. Again, they will use the name of the CDC or the Center for Disease Control in an attempt to sort of automatically disarm you and have you feel a degree of comfort. Don't even open the door. And so here's some tips on how to avoid donating to a sham charity. So first, don't let anyone rush you into making a decision. So if someone has you on the phone, you'll find they often want to say, well, we need to wrap this up right now, and they will create a sense of urgency. Don't allow anyone to rush you into making a decision. Don't feel pressured to donate. We all love to help and give and support, but that isn't something that you should feel pressured to do. And chances are, if you're feeling pressured to do so, it's very likely that it's not a situation that is good and ripe for real, sincere, charitable support. Don't trust your caller ID. There are ways now in which, well, I'll put it like this. The caller ID used to be reliable. You'd see who was calling, and you could, for the most part, trust that that's who was going to be on the other end of the phone when you answered it. And that is not the case today. There are systems now that randomly pull in bogus phone numbers so that the caller ID may say one thing and where the call is actually coming from is an entirely different place. So please don't trust the caller ID, simply because it may say or represent a familiar entity or agency or charitable organization. Please don't automatically assume that that is where the caller is calling from. Technology just makes it so easy for scammers to misrepresent themselves on a call. And if there is a charity that you feel you would like to support, check the name of the charity, especially if it seems like a well-known organization. Some scammers will give a name that's similar but not exact, and you may believe you're contributing or supporting one entity when in fact it is indeed another. And lastly, watch out for solicitations that give lots of vague and sentimental claims, but give you no specifics. So, if it sounds like it's too good to be true, chances are it is. And so please just be very careful in these very, very challenging times. Obviously, first and foremost, our focus must be on our health and safety and protecting ourselves, following the medical advice. But be mindful that crises such as these do in fact create an economic challenge for us at the national level, at our local economy and its impact, but also at a very, very personal level. And so I will urge you to, again, be very thoughtful and prudent, and work with someone to help you manage through making financial decisions during this difficult time. Don't get alarmed because you see the stock market fall. Is it cause for concern? Absolutely. But is it cause for panic and upheaval? No, it is not. Just seek the advice of your wealth management advisor, of your banking representative, or a family member or a good trusted friend who can help you think through how you might want to manage your finances during this time. And then lastly, please be very careful not to fall victim of even additional financial difficulties by being vulnerable and succumbing to scams and charitable fraudulent representations. Certainly, let's not lose our sense of humanity and our desire to help and support. And as we always do, we'll do what we can. But protect yourself in the process of doing that. And so I want to wish everyone to be very, very safe and be well in these difficult times, not only with your medical health, but also with your financial health as well. Thank you for joining in and allowing me to share some thoughts today, and I wish you well. God bless.